Hello, and welcome to a Wizardly Weekly review of some of the DM's Guild content. Today we are reviewing A Night of Masks and Monsters by Ashley Warren. Now, before we dive into the review, let's tell you about the criteria we will be using for our reviews. Eric?
We both understand the subjective nature that plagues review culture online, and we want to tell you that we're not going to fall into those traps of just spewing our opinions. Hence the objective criteria we've chosen to review all the content on this channel.
We've developed a 10-star rating for our reviews that will account for all criteria. The lore of the content, the difficulty in implementing the one-shots, the classes, etc. And from there, we go to the balance and then to the draw and finally capping off with our personal opinions, which, like we said, won't affect the rating.
100%. So without further ado, we're going to jump into our first topic, which is lore. So, going into our lore section, we're talking about worldly status and lore pertaining to persons, places, or things. So my first question for you, James, is there lore present in this work?
Absolutely. Yes, of course there is. And within the first few pages of the book, the summary for the lore is very well laid out, and it fleshes out the whole scenario very well. Honestly, it's great.
I couldn't agree more with you, James. The first 5 pages, an excellent summary about the one-shot itself, and how to incorporate it into an existing campaign if needed. So, beyond that, would you say that the lore is intriguing?
Yes, you know what? I've always loved the thought of a larger overarching plot to my campaigns, whether it's as a player or a DM, and this one-shot does introduce this sort of an arc, and it does so in a very, very strong way.
Gotcha. No, I completely agree. It truly does, and it does this with like the lore that's surrounding the Aurum and the Malum Animus. More on that in the full-length review. But I do truly love the themes that the lore of Ebrito brings to the table for DMs and players alike. It's classy, it's sassy, and it's masqueradey intriguey. So my next question for you as well, James. Does the lore enhance the work? If so, how? And if not, why?
I'd say so. I'd say it does. I think the lore, the location, and the general feel in the setting works very well within itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe this adventure, its location, its characters, they're all a wonderful contribution to the world of Faerun, or any homebrew setting that you have.
Absolutely. And although this section seems kind of short right now, we're just going to give you our star rating on the lore section, and this one earned a 10 out of 10 for the lore section for Night of Masks and Monsters.
Truly amazing. If you want to hear more in depth in terms of why it got this solid rating, go ahead and check out our full review down below in the description, and if you're okay with having some spoilers. If not, we'll see you in the next section, which is difficulty. See you there. Alright, so on to our next section, difficulty. How hard is it to implement and understand? So James, are there quick reference guides present in the work? Maps, charts, etc.?
Absolutely, you bet. There are a good handful of tables and charts. All are very easy to follow. My only gripe is bouncing between pages for information, but that's more of a personal issue. But yeah, that's it for me.
Honestly, like you nailed it, James. I don't have anything else to say on this one.
Okay, well, I'll ask you this one then. How difficult is it for the DM to implement?
Well, I think in my opinion, there's definitely going to be some difficulty for a DM to implement the proper level of intrigue that's worthy of the rich lore that is established for the setting of Ebrito. I'm going to elaborate on this more in the full-length review, but James, you had the hands-on experience, so I'm going to let you talk about that.
Okay, you know, honestly, I didn't find that many personal gripes with it, but that could just be me and my style of DMing. However, the implementation in a general sense was easy, it flowed, and you know what, we'll go more into that in our full-length review, but this otherwise gets a thumbs up from me.
Solid.
So, the next question we have is, how difficult is it for you, the player, to implement?
Well, having been on the player side of the table, I have to say that it was little to no difficulty for me to comprehend the lore, the story, the characters, and to just really immerse myself into it. With the tangible assets such as the maps, the charts, a drinking game, it was a rebel-rousing experience that had me pilfering cheese from the fridge and gulping wine. James?
You know what? Honestly, I couldn't agree more. It was a wonderful night. It was great as a DM. I mean, I didn't get to be as a player, but you know, at the end of the day, it was amazing.
Yeah, 110%. So then my last question for you is, what's the payoff for the difficulty then?
Okay, so from the perspective of a DM, if the players are running through this as a one-shot, the in-game payoff is minimal. But I mean, that's always something a DM can be flexible with a loot treasure book or a loot table of some kind. But where this campaign's true payoff lies is around the table or over Skype, wherever it is. It's a riot to play, and I personally highly recommend this.
I completely understand what you're saying and I agree with your perspective. I would just like to add on top of that that the amount of time it took you to prepare as a DM and us to prepare as players to like create our characters and the investment of our time, I think it's well worth the payoff. 2 to 4 hours of your time for the impact, the memories, the laughs. It's a huge bang for your buck. And worst case scenario, if it wasn't really well suited to your group or you didn't like it, at least you didn't sink a whole month into something before people just randomly started quitting.
No, exactly. And, you know, this brings us to the end of our difficulty section. Now, there wasn't a lot we could have dive into in this section without kind of spoiling some stuff. However, our star review for this one was 7.5 out of 10. Now, if you want to know more about why we gave it that rating, see the full review in the description below. Otherwise, we'll see you in balance.
Alright, hey friends and fiends. We're coming into the section on balance now. So what are we talking about balance? I'm talking about how well are the items, classes, races, and encounters balanced.
Okay.
So my first question for you, James, is the work balanced by means of the stats, the mechanics, the play, and the lore?
You know, taking a holistic view of the one-shot, it is very well balanced. And the fight at the end is... it still provides really good tension in combat. Obviously, the lore and the play and the mechanics, it all works really, really well within the fun of the one-shot.
Okay. Well, 100%. Wholeheartedly agree once again. I would like to just add that the masks themselves add so much to the game in terms of the immersion, the strategy, and a palpable incentive to complete the one-shot. And more on that later, folks. So, oh yeah, sorry.
No, yeah, yep. No, that's fine. Yeah, this section has to be really short because we go any further beyond this and it's just spoilers territory
everywhere.
So we're gonna keep this section short for the short version. Our star rating for this one was 8.5 out of 10.
110%.
We have to try and remember these things.
If you want to know more about the balance and you're okay with having spoilers, again, in the description below.
We'll see you there. Hello, friends and fiends. Welcome to Intrigue. So, Intrigue, does this catch the eye? How does this spark interest in players and DMs? So, the first question is, how is the artwork?
Holy, James, that's honestly a loaded question. I don't know, do you want to ask me a little more?
Well, yeah, well, how is the layout of the artwork within the documents themselves?
Okay, alright. So I would say that the placement, it isn't too distracting. The layout meshes really well with the artwork. And just shout out to all the artists that worked on it. Seriously, it looks like one artist did all of it.
Like you say, 100%, I agree. The art layout in the book made for not only an appealing and aesthetically pleasing experience, it brought together the beautifully described setting around you. And yes, like you said, a great job to the artists.
Perfect. So my question to you is, how does it sound and read?
It reads like a bunch of consonants and vowels. No, really. My only gripe is that it might be a little restrictive dialogue-wise for NPCs, but honestly, everything worked well for me.
Agreed. For me, I found that the material read really well. There's lots of layers of story and lore, and like I already mentioned, the inclusion of Italian in there made for an eloquent adventure that was easy to understand. It was easy to comprehend and just digest, and even on the fly, like for you and for me, with hardly any time. And there was barely any grammar issues in the document itself, which is always nice.
Shout out to the editors there. So, what about the draw for the DMs? And you know what? I just asked myself this question, so I'm going to steal it. For both you and I, we really enjoyed this one shot from a DM and a player perspective. But in our full-length review, we're going to dive into this a little bit more because there needs to be more said in this section than what we have already.
110%. There's so many reasons to pick this up.
Absolutely.
Like, honestly, like, do it, please.
100%.
We can't really, like, spoil too much. So we're going to just leave that for the full-length review, again, down in the description below. Other than that, that brings us to our wizardly rating for Intrigue, and that was a solid 9 out of 10. Great job, our team and editors.
Amazing. And you know, again, just a big shout out to Ashley Warren and her team of people, the editors, the artists, and everyone that put this together. It was a great job all around. And you know, if you guys are looking for something just to kill this quarantine time,
yes,
like, this is worth it 100%. I mean, I would play it again and again because, like things with D&D, it's always going to be different every time you play it. So, you know, take this 9 out of 10, go to the DM's Guild, links below, and go pick it up.
Okay, so everybody, that brings us to our final wizardly rating of an 8.75 out of 10. We absolutely recommend that you go and pick this up.
Absolutely, 100%.
So the only last kind of closing questions or remarks that I'm going to make is this work indicative of the creator's reputation or things that they're known for? Absolutely. This falls in line with other work that Ashley has done in the past. She's mainly focused on campaign setting and just campaign big story, like epic story, and one-shots as well. She's one of the founders of the RPG Workshop, which is huge for the community of creators because it shows you and gives you guidelines. There's paid courses as well as free ones in terms of how to create for D&D. And as well as just how to run your first campaign as well too. And there's a job board which helps creators such as ourselves find great collaborations to and great people to work with, as well as just work in the field in general.
Exactly.
So links to that in the description below. And just the other question that we had is, James, would we as the Wizardly Warehouse recommend this to other people?
100%, absolutely. You know, definitely. Just, this work was beautifully done. The visuals, the style, the writing, the characters, the setting, it's perfect. I really love it. 8.75 out of 10. That is awesome.
Yes, like, don't let that try and skew anything in your mind. That really means that it's pretty much perfect. And
absolutely.
You know, the way that our objective criteria is established, we explained it at the beginning, right, is there are a few little critiques and nitpicks here and there, but this is something that we truly believe in and that we believe that you guys need to go out and pick up yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, it's already gotten a very high reward in terms of its medal award, and you know, it's still free to pick up. So I would recommend you can go ahead and download it for free. Link in the description below for the DMs Guild where to pick it up. But especially in these trying times, really recommend going back and supporting Ashley's work, and by doing that, the community as a whole. You can even donate 10 cents if you needed to, because James, tell us why this is important.
Well, you know what? It's important because we're a community. Right now, in these trying times of the quarantine And the world, the way it is right now, we need this content. This is what brings us together, whether it's through Skype and obeying the quarantine, or, very carefully, setting something up to have that connection, that community. That's who we are.
110%.
That's all of us together. We're in this together. Let's go support those content creators. That's what we're here to do as well, is to bring this content that you might not find before and bring it to different platforms and show you all. Because this is the stuff that makes memories. And A Night of Masks and Monsters was by far one of my favorite one-shots I've played. Please go out, support Ashley. And, we would say this about anyone's content, almost, really.
Yes.
Support them. If you like it, support them.
And that's the whole reasoning behind why we offer a short form review and a full in-depth review, is for people that want to just get the skinny on it and on those 4 major criteria, which tend to be the pillars that people make the decisions off of.
Yeah.
And you don't want any spoilers, then we keep it short, we keep it simple, we give you some points that we liked, some points that we were a little leery on, and we give you a rating, and based off of that, you go and make your own decisions. At the end of the day, it's completely up to you.
Yeah.
And then the full-length review is for us just nerding out and going full in depth and just showing, I guess, everybody that we're really nerdy and we talk about everything after we've done it. But anyways, brings us to our closing remarks, which is, if you enjoyed this review and you'd like to see more of this content, James and I are going to be producing much more now with the quarantine in effect, and with our setup being in a much better place than it ever has been. So links below for our Patreon. Obviously you're here on YouTube watching this. We also have Twitter, Instagram, and we are going to have a Facebook page published soon. It is finished, we're just in the final stages. So be sure to just click that bell icon and stay in order to stay up to date with all of our recent things that we have coming at you.
Yeah. Give us a like, share us around, and we...
Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. And if you would like us to cover any of your material, please feel free to reach out to us on any of those platforms, and we'll be sure to get back to you, and we'd love to review your content for you.
Absolutely. And we will see
you
through the rift.